When you're doing music, you're decorating the time. Oh, music has saved my life.
वो बहुत important होता है कि जो आप कर रहे हो आप दिल से करो.
See, you have to enjoy making music.
Hey guys, welcome back to our channel. Today we have a very special guest joining us for an interview. This is a person who has been in the music industry for many years, has done music for several feature films, and has done music for hundreds of ad films as well.
से जब हम पाँव उठाते हैं पंख अपने आप लग जाते हैं.
Please welcome Mr. Pankaja Wasthi.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for being here. हमारे छोटे से चैनल पे आप आए हो.
My pleasure.
मैंने कुछ क्वेश्चंस यहाँ पे लिखे हुए हैं, सब स्मूथली जाए. सबसे पहले मैं आपसे ये पूछना चाहूंगी, if you can tell us a little bit about your background and how you got started in music.
That's very interesting story actually. So when I was in class 11th, when I started listening to music, there was this friend of mine, actually my brother's friend. He used to have a room with a very huge music system, like a hi-fi music system. So they were not very common, and usually people had those two-in-ones, like that big kind of a cassette player and a radio. So they used to call it two-in-one. That's what we had at our place. But when I heard the music on that hi-fi system, the full frequency range, the bass and the nice treble and full range of it, something happened. I mean, that is one experience that I cannot forget ever. That was one change, something clicked. I loved it, the sound of music. That was a nice room, acoustically treated also. It had nice carpet. Okay. So it sounded very good. So we used to listen to Michael Jackson. That time I think, Michael Jackson was in peak, Madonna and George Michael, all these pop icons. So that music, we love listening to it. I will try all my best, after that to go to that, sneak into the room and put some music in my friend's place. And it happened so that my brother's friend's elder brother, who was a lot senior to me, was in Merchant Navy, and he would come in holidays to his house, and he had another collection of music that he used to listen to. He was quite a connoisseur of music, and he would collect music, and he had hundreds of cassettes and LPs. And so I was like, wow, what kind of music he's listening to. So he introduced me to some music of 60s and 70s, some rock and jazz music of 60s and 70s, like right. The Doors, Pink Floyd, Jethro Tull, Led Zeppelin, all that music. Right. So that music, that's how I got into listening to music very seriously. Oh wow, this is the thing for me, Right. I want to listen to music, man. That's what I want to do. That's my hobby, Right. I started collecting music after that and listening to a lot of music. Actually, those times there was no internet. I'm talking about mid 90s, late 90s. So there was no internet. It was not that easy to find albums.
Not like now where you can just
Not at all. Now you have everything on your phone. But that was the charm, we would record a cassette maker copy from an LP or something.
Right.
Then Xerox the cover art of it and keep it, with you, and sort of label then and number. It was a whole collection thing.
That's so cool.
So romantic about it. So that's how I got into listening to music. Then of course I met some other people, once you start listening to certain kind of music, something happens. I mean, you also meet some people, who listen to that kind of music.
So I heard that you met Indian Ocean.
Yes,
so
yes.
If you could talk a little bit about that, I think the viewers would be very interested.
Yeah. So after my 12th, which I did in Patna, my father was posted in Patna that time. That's when I had started listening to music a lot. started thinking that, I want to play the guitar. Like, I want to acquire one guitar and play the guitar. And wonderful things happened. We moved to Delhi. And in the same apartments in Mayur Vihar, phase 1, where my father got a flat for us to live, was the Shushmit Sen of the band Indian Ocean was living there. Yeah. So, and that time they were touring. They were a young band then, but they had started getting gigs and, they were traveling all around India and they were playing college festivals and other festivals all across the India. So he lived there and he is a wonderful, loving person. So we would hang out. We'll try to sort of hang out with them, and he loved all of us to come over to his place also and jam or play. That time I had just started playing guitar. I was playing a few chords and that's about it. And watch Shushmit like this. Oh wow, like wish I can play like that. So that was wonderful.
Big inspiration.
Yes. Very big inspiration.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
that's a really cool story.
Yeah.
And what are the odds that he lived right there?
Yeah. That was amazing. And after that, actually, for several years, I was kept meeting Shushmit and going to his rehearsals sometimes, and before the backstage on the shows and stuff. It was all very exciting.
As a young musician, that was probably the dream.
Yeah, and learn from him and learn, because he would teach us. Since he himself is a self-taught guitar player, so he has his very unique style also. Right. But of course, he would tell us about chords and and introduce to a lot of other good music also.
So he was basically like a mentor.
Yeah, definitely. And also he introduced me to music sequencing on computer or keyboards. That was my introduction. That through him only, he fixed one meeting for me to go to one of the studios.
So this was the start of your composition journey.
Sort of my introduction to computers and MIDI, musical instrument digital interface. That's what MIDI full form is.
Right.
So like introduction to that. That's how I came to know. This is how you make music.
Right.
And start writing music. Yeah.
तो आपका खुद का एक बहुत बड़ा प्लेथोरा है music that you've made. But you have your own personal discography. For everyone watching, how would you describe your own personal style of music and what are your biggest inspirations?
How do I describe my music? I think let's leave that to audience.
Okay.
Let's let them describe what I am doing. Otherwise, technically, if I say I hop genres, so I do make very different kind of music, like at times, from rock. Like recently I've done very pop space work also, very simple writing, simple chorus.
Which is very fun.
Which is fun. Though initially I was more into fusion and rock because I wanted to be a guitar player, That's how it started. But later when I started programming music and sequencing music, then my interest grew towards this production and composition more, And that's why I would come across great music in all the genres. So let's do something like that, See, inspiration comes like that, You hear something, then you want to do something like that. In that space, in that mood, in that color. So I hop genres. That's how I can describe my music. But I try to be a little experimental and find something which is new, which is not an instrument which is not used like that. Like piano is not a percussion instrument, but what if I tweak the sound and make it, So do something like that. So I try to do that. Sometimes I pass, sometimes I fail, it doesn't sound or it gets unnoticed. It gets unnoticed, but part of the process is the main interesting part of making music.
Failure is just as important as success in especially music.
Yes. See, you have to enjoy making music. Unless you are not enjoying, how can you expect somebody else to listen to it and like it,
Right.
So
That's true. Like the audience is not stupid. People can easily tell if the artist is into what they're doing. You can tell. And even in the commercial space that I've listened to your music, it's always been very, बहुत ऐसा लगता है कि आप दिल से कर रहे हो. हमेशा वो feel होता है. तो तो वो बहुत important होता है कि जो आप कर रहे हो आप दिल से करो.
Yeah, intent is somehow it comes across. Music हो, painting हो, cinema हो, सब में intention दिखने लगता
पता
है.
चल जाता है.
पता चल जाता है. और अच्छी बात है.
पता चलना भी चाहिए. Moving on to the next question. How has music shaped your identity and your understanding of yourself?
Oh, music has saved my life.
Wow.
I mean, music is everything. I can't imagine a world without music. I mean, what would I do if there was no music? It gives me so much satisfaction and contentment. You are at peace. Also, at the same time, because I'm doing so much of commercial music, like ad film music, that is a little different kind of a challenge. You have to make music for a product. There is a set canvas, like, okay, you can use guidelines, you can use only these many sounds. It has to be like a major sounding song. You cannot go too much into chord progressions or changes like that. So all those things are there. Music is everywhere. I think it's very fundamental. Music is very fundamental. It's before we all were born, I think. Because it's how you see everything has rhythm. Yeah. Rhythm is fundamental. Right? The earth is moving in a rhythm. Moon has a rhythm. If you hear what's happening around you, you'll sometimes find a bird. वहाँ पे एक beat आएगी. Then there'll be some sound of a truck going. That's a pad, So if you see, music is around us. It's part of reality. Yeah. So music is that fundamental. That's what I believe.
It's an intrinsic part of being a human.
Yes. And early, I think very early, people also made music, thumping on the ground and dancing, and it's all rhythm. Rhythm is music. Of course, it has evolved and, it will keep evolving. That is the nature of things.
How has Indian culture and tradition influenced your musical style choices? The reason that I asked this question is because मैंने notice किया है कि आपके music में there are all sorts of like influences of like Western and Indian. So it's kind of like a fusion of the two.
See, I'm born here. Indian music has been all around me all the time. Before I started listening to music, when I was not listening to music, I was playing around. Indian music and Indian songs were always going in my mind, So that I think when I got into listening to music seriously, like when it blew my mind, and then I became aware of it, that something like music happens and like, people make these sounds and they create this
space
in time. You decorate time. When you're doing music, you're decorating the time. That's how they say. So when I started listening to music seriously, exploring it, what is an instrument, what is a bass, what is a guitar, what's a drum. So when that happened, that time I was listening to a lot of rock and jazz music. Then I explored Indian folk music and Indian classical music, which I got very interested. Because Indian classical music also is about improvisation. They are mostly improvising on takes a stick and they improvise. And jazz music also is a lot of improvisation. They also improvise. So my interest was into impromptu music, improvisational music.
Right. Making something out of nothing.
Yeah, I mean, you're jamming, because that's when I think the genius of musician comes out.
Who they are as a musician is what comes out when improv.
When you forget that you're playing an instrument and you become the instrument.
You found like similarities between the two. That was like the one thing that really moved you as a musician.
Yeah, there are a lot of similarities in Indian classical and jazz. And they are very diverse also. Music, it's a common language. That's how a lot of Indian classical music, all the Indian classical players are traveling all over the world and they are playing and they are welcomed and they are loved,
How do you balance a personal life and a career as a musician?
I think that is just like everybody, you have to take out time. Rather, I would say I get a lot of time with family. Right. Because my work usually doesn't happen like 9 to 5 job. I don't have a 9 to 5 job. And I get offs, like a week off in between once in a while, Right. I get time, for my family. So I don't think there is much I have to do for that. So sometimes there are times when I get very busy. Right. And I have to work 18 hours a day. Right. It used to happen some time back a lot, but now I usually don't work more than 6-7 hours at a stretch.
It's also
I feel
important.
Yeah, I also feel sometimes when you're working for a commercial, you have to do. But I try to plan the production in a way that we get time because that's important for the quality of the product also, and your health, because health is wealth.
Yeah, like without health, you have nothing.
You have nothing.
Yeah.
So you have to take care of that.
Would it be safe to say that discipline is a core of music?
Oh, yes. If you see a lot of like very big bands who have done hundreds and thousands of shows, they are all very disciplined people, I think. How will you do it? You have to travel, you have to keep your... Doing a show, a 2-hour, 3-hour show every alternate day needs a lot of discipline and
Right.
energy and fitness. So the bands that you see, they have like 20-year-long career and they're playing live. Rolling Stones, I mean, they're playing live still. I think they must be disciplined in some way, or they know how to do it. I mean, you know, it's also that you get a badge, you know, okay, rock and roll, you know, like there are terms like sex, drugs and rock and roll. Where does that come from? That's part of the culture. I mean, I think the audience were doing more of that.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, like how else are you going to perform? How else are you going to make the music? How else are you going to keep up with the trends? As a musician, your job is to keep growing. I think.
Yeah. So definitely. And in any field,
Right.
you need...
I mean, discipline is actually not just the core of music. I think it's like the core of life.
Yeah,
Like if you
yeah.
want to live a good life, discipline is.
Yes, you want to be...
When it comes to music or actually anything that you're passionate about, there are going to be times where you have setbacks or failures. So my question to you would be, how do you deal with them? Like whenever there's a setback or there's a failure or something that you wanted to happen but didn't happen or didn't go the way you wanted to, or maybe opportunities that fell through, like how do you deal with that?
You feel bad about it for some time.
Grieving period.
Yeah. You know, there are ups and downs in life. I
Right.
mean, no one can expect a life which goes like this straight. I mean,
Or just
that's
like
not
this.
life.
Yeah.
That's not life. That's death. Life is always, when you see that heart, that scream when they show the heartbeat. So it's like that. There are ups and downs. You know, and no one can avoid that. कबीर का एक दोहा है, चलती चाकी देख कबीरा रोए, दुई पाथर के बीच में साबुत बचा न कोई। तो मतलब हाथ की जो चक्की होती थी उसमें गेहूं पीसते थे, तो मतलब दो पत्थर, मतलब आकाश और जमीन के बीच में जो भी आया है वो साबुत नहीं बचने वाला है, उसको पिसना पड़ेगा। मैं कहने का मतलब कि उसको जिंदगी में उतार चढ़ाव आएंगे। सो उतार चढ़ाव आते हैं, they are good. I mean, I've learned to live with them. And now I don't get, I mean, when I was younger, before I used to get affected more, and then you get used to it, and now it's okay, we'll do another one which will...
Right.
Which will
So
work.
basically it's like acceptance.
Yeah.
कि नहीं हुआ ठीक है,
ठीक है।
अब क्या कर सकते हैं, मतलब
थोड़ी देर बुरा लगता है,
हाँ,
ठीक है, लगता
और वो
है।
लगना अच्छी बात भी है।
इतने सेटबैक्स म्यूजिक में क्या हो, ठीक है, एक ट्रैक उतना एक्सपेक्टेशन से जितना नहीं बना, या कोई कमर्शियल आपने किया उसमें आपको उतना टाइम नहीं मिला, यू हैड टू कॉम्प्रोमाइज ऑन सर्टेन थिंग्स हैपन। आई मीन, यू नो, नथिंग इज परफेक्ट, सो आई एम ओके।
आपके हिसाब से हाउ डू यू स्ट्राइव टू बी ऑथेंटिक इन योर म्यूजिक? व्हाट एडवाइस वुड यू गिव टू यंगर म्यूजिशियंस, मतलब कि वो अपने म्यूजिक में ऑथेंटिसिटी ला पाए?
See, to young musicians and aspiring composers, listen to loads of music. Listening is very important. In your room, you should be playing some music all the time. So consume a lot of music, listen to a lot of music, because see, our mind, I think it works like create something original, but it has some reference point. It starts with a reference point, right? So if you have heard so much of music, you have so many references. So if you're composing for a certain scene, for a film, you have so many references in your subconscious. And then you think about it, and then music is there in the air, right? And you can think about the emotion and come up with a tune. And it will be somewhere connected to something that you've heard.
Nothing is
Don't
original.
don't try to identify it, that what exactly that was it. That's not important. Mostly if you see in commercial music, you'll find it, you know, similar time signatures, similar chord progressions, similar melodies also, you know, but yet they are different. And sometimes some tune is better than the other, though they are in the same scale,
Right,
you know.
right.
So how does that happen? I think that process is, once an artist knows that scale and he or she starts to play the music, there are few things which will happen, automatically. You have to flow with it. And that's how you'll see, when you record yourself, oh wow, yeah, this is cool, how did you do it? I don't know how you did it. Nobody knows how you did it. It just happened. The music actually happens through you, and you can be a witness to it. That is important. I mean, when your mind has absorbed so much of music, different genres and different kind of music, that fundamental and that knowledge and data that you have comes together, and new music
Something
happens.
new happens. Yeah. You just have to keep going. You have to keep doing it.
Yeah.
And sometimes things might not turn out like maybe you don't have the song that you wanted, but you just keep making it. One day you will.
Yeah, see, there are two things in it, two aspects. Like, you also have to, once you become a professional music, you have to make music which can make money for you, because you have to sustain, okay?
Yeah, that's true.
That becomes a little different kind of a process if you're comparing it with how an artist is doing music out of his soul, love for music, and what he wants to do or express himself or herself. So that is different. You learn the method. You learn the methods, and you have to balance it out. I mean, see, life is, as we talked, it's not like, so you have to think differently and sometimes change your style and how you go about the process of making music, how you want to,
Sometimes you have to make compromises on what you want to make and what the client wants.
What the client wants, what the product demands.
Right.
Suppose the product is demanding something and the client is, the agency, the advertising agency, the campaign has a different vision. You have to work accordingly. That's what the music director's job is. That's why they hire you, There you have to work with certain guidelines. As an artist, when you're making your own music, that's when you should not try to sort of please anyone.
Right. We're unfortunately running out of time. So this is going to be our final question. What is your ultimate goal as a musician? As in, what impact do you wish to make on the world with your music?
That's a big question. I really haven't thought about it. That, what impacts. I mean, I love making music, So I want to keep making music for films, for albums, my own music, especially making music for films, scoring music for that is, I love doing that. So I hope I keep doing that and make my music, and slowly people listen and get more close to independent music, because independent music is where you will find very original stuff happening and, very path-breaking stuff happening. Independent musicians, they are coming out of everywhere. Now music is being created in every bedroom across the globe, That kind of music, some new kind of music will come up, all those things. So even I try to do that. I try to not stick to genres and experiment with music. And I hope I can touch more hearts and lives. Not more than that. I'm happy. I'm happy making music.
I mean, that's a huge thing, that even one person just make them feel something with your music.
I do get mails and calls, and sometimes, that makes me feel so good. When your music that you have put your heart to, and somebody calls you that, wow, sir, this music is so good. I love it. This has been in my playlist for 9 years and all that. Feels great, it feels good.
You were part of someone else's life as well.
Yeah. Actually, that happens many times and it's a great feeling.
Now it's time to end this video, but before that, what are some things that you're working on now that we can expect from you in the near future, or some things that you've recently released, things that we can plug in down below?
So in 2023, I released some 5 new songs on Spotify and YouTube and all the streaming platforms, and they are in a little bit light-hearted mood, very pop sort of genre I've tried to do, and I have more music coming up. I've made some, I think 7 or 8 new compositions.
Wow,
songs,
that's exciting.
Yeah, which I'll be releasing as this year goes by.
Okay, well, we're really excited. Again, I want to thank you so much for being on this channel, for coming and talking to me and to our viewers. It means a lot. Thank you so much for being here.
My pleasure.
Thanks for watching. If you liked it, please comment, like, subscribe, do all the things. We will see you in the next one. Till then, take care.
Let there be more music.